must be resigned to enduring his displeasure. By the same token, I cannot think that it would be seemly for me, as the historian of these events, to present myself as if I had played a leading role in them, thrusting myself on the attention of my readers like an amateur actor, cast as a spear-bearer, ineptly trying to shoulder his way into the spotlight. The place of the historian is not at the centre of the stage, but in the shadows at the side, observing and explaining the actions of the protagonists in the drama. I shall not, therefore, take up your time and attention with any description or account of myself. Some of my readers, it is true, have been kind enough to say that they would like to know more about me, what I look like, how I dress, how I spend my leisure hours, and other details of a personal and sometimes even intimate nature. I do not doubt, however, that these inquiries are made purely as a matter of courtesy, and that to take them au pied de la lettre would be as grave a solecism as to answer a polite "How do you do, Professor Tamar?" with a full account of the state of my digestion. Of what interest can it be to the reader of a work of history whether the writer of it is tall or short, thin or fat, of fair or dark complexion? It would seem to me an impertinence on my part to claim the attention of my readers for such trivia. Maintaining, therefore, that modest reticence which I think becoming to the historian, I shall say no more of myself than that my name is Hilary Tamar, and that I am the tutor in legal history at St. George's College, Oxford, of which I have the honour to be a fellow. In particular, I shall not explain my reasons for deciding, shortly after the end of the summer term, to spend a few days in London. Suffice it to say that the bursar was still in residence at St. George's, and enough is enough. As I have mentioned elsewhere, Timothy Shepherd, a former pupil of mine, now in practice at the Chancery Bar, has a flat conveniently situated at the top of Middle Temple Lane. I telephoned him, knowing the generosity of his nature, in reasonably confident hope of an offer of hospitality. Timothy expressed his regret that he himself would be absent during the period I mentioned, and thus unable to entertain me in person. He was appearing in a case in Manchester, or Brussels, or some such place. He kindly invited me, however, to treat the flat as my own during his absence, and promised to leave a set of keys for me with Selina Jardine, a member of the same chambers, to be collected on my arrival in London. At about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the Thursday before midsummer, I mounted the steps of 62 New Square and opened the door of the clerk's room, intending to ask Henry, the senior clerk, to tell Selina of my arrival. Midsummer. Chapter 1. The two men struggling on the floor of the clerk's room differed widely in appearance. One young, of slender build, dressed in cotton and denim, with honey-coloured hair worn rather long, and a pleasing delicacy of feature. The other, perhaps in his 60s, tending to plumpness, wearing a pinstriped suit, with the round pink face of a bad-tempered baby, and very little hair at all. They rolled this way and that, as it seemed, inextricably entwined, uttering indistinguishable cries and groans, whether of pain or pleasure, I could not easily determine. A ladder was also involved in the proceedings. I concluded after a few moments that their entanglement was neither hostile nor amorous, but of an involuntary nature on both sides, the result, very possibly, of an accidental collision between the older man and the ladder, at a moment when the younger was standing, perhaps imperfectly balanced, on one of its upper rungs. Sir Robert.